The following video is sponsored by Owlcat Games. Salutations everybody, it is Maddie here today. I'm about to put an RPG right on your radar, so pay attention, alright? Because this game, I picked up on it a couple months ago. Owlcat reached out to me and they went, yo, you want to make a video on this? I was like, absolutely, because this is a Maddie game. What's a Maddie game? Turn-based, choice and consequence, isometric camera point of view, replayability, deep character builds. That's what Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous is. And if you find all that interesting, pay attention throughout this video, and do know there is a link at the top of the description box. Consider picking up the game through there. It will help out the channel. But with that, let's get into what exactly this game is, because it's the closest we have ever gotten to a tabletop RPG in video game form, and that alone is reason for excitement enough. So Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous is an indirect sequel to Pathfinder Kingmaker, where Kingmaker was focused on building your own kingdom. Wrath of the Righteous is centered around being the commander of the 5th Crusade. So the game starts off, you wake up in the middle of this festival, everyone's happy, and all of a sudden, there they are, demons. Discari the demon has invaded the city of Canabris, and everyone's dying. So you fall down into this little pit here, and your adventure begins. And soon, you find the memories of Lariel, an angel of legends, and you acquire this beautiful sword, and you are set on your path. And that's really all I want to give it the story, because the best part of these types of games is the way you can shape and mold your character around the story and make decisions that allow you to be that chaotic element just breezing through the world, changing everything in your path. But what impressed me more than anything is this game has one of the deepest character creators I have ever seen in my life. And it just, look at this. Look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, all right, ready? Class, race, heritage, your background, skills, feats, your bloodline, the deity that you worship, your alignment, your appearance, and your voice. There is so much to customize here that before I even hit the play button, I already knew there was multiple ways to go through this game, to play it, and to experience it. And that alone, as a RPG diehard, is one of the best feelings. Knowing that upon download, before I've even seen any of the story, I could replay this a number of different ways, just based off on all of the characters that are available for you to customize. With that in mind, it can feel a little overwhelming at first. That's not a bad thing, but even as someone who's very experienced in this genre, there were moments where there's a lot of reading, there's a lot of going through, and I was like, okay, whoa, this is a lot. And it can weigh on you a little bit. But if you push through, it's so worth it, because you really feel like your character is unique compared to everyone else. I mean, my build will 100% be completely different from yours in the terms of how I play the game, the race I've chosen, the class I'm using, the subclass within the class, and that doesn't even get into mythic paths, which is entirely unique based off story decisions. There are 9 in total, and they have unique progression and abilities. And these also tie into specific conversation options, much like a lot of other RPGs that I adore. This one carries its conversation system in the same way. You'll have someone ask you one question, and it's that amazing feeling of seeing like 9 responses that you can pick from. Just really well thought out dialogue. A lot of it is voiced right off the rip, which is also really good. Sometimes these games, because of how much dialogue there is, they can't voice all of it because it's thousands upon thousands of lines, and it really bumps up that budget. But here, I'm happy to say that a lot of it was voiced. Now, let's talk a little bit about combat, because for you, you may care, yeah, the story's good, the choices are good, and the character building is good. But what are you going to be playing? It is a video game after all. Well, this is one of the best parts of it, I felt, because when it starts up, it's a real-time combat system akin to something like, I'd say, Pillars of Eternity or Knights of the Old Republic. But there is also a turn-based mode for those of you who are like me, turn-based kings, and you're like, you know what, I need to slow down, figure things out. And what's good about this is in the early going, I was messing with turn-based because, once again, there was a lot of reading, there was a lot of processing of information. I had to take my time, and this allows you to do so. And it's all done through a click of a button, so it can just turn on and off. You don't got to dig through your settings and all that stuff. And so as I learned my abilities and how the combat would go, I turned it off and tried a new pace here with real time, because while I haven't played Pillars, it's something that I've always been interested in. And so this was my first experience with a CRPG quite like this. And I gotta say, I'm digging it big time. But beyond that, the combat itself is ability based. There's a lot of different things that you can do through dice rolling, through spells, abilities, and it's very much like a tabletop RPG where there are certain spells that have a number of uses per day, and you cannot regenerate them until you rest. Then upon resting, those spells will come back. But there are also things like cantrips, which you can infinitely use as much as you'd like. And so there's a real balance of in combat, do I use this ability right here? Do I cast this Cure Light Wounds right here because I may need this later? And so am I being hasty? Will I find a potion around the corner? Will I make some food and heal myself that way? There's choice within both the story and the gameplay. And so I'm always just running calculations in my head. Like, what do I do here? What do I do here? Oh man, I don't know. And I just love these types of RPGs because it's what brings me back again and again. And it's even that type of RPG where you may buy it, play the first 10 hours, and then start over again and go, yeah, I want to do it this way instead. And that's what I did with so many other RPGs like Divinity, Wasteland, just started back up, started back up, started back up. This game has that energy twofold. Another thing that I wanted to shout out is the difficulty options, because I did mention there's a lot going on here. It can be a lot to take on, and the game was very self-aware of that. So there are a number of different ways to play this game and to tweak your experience. You can have a custom difficulty, there's a story difficulty, but you can also change things like the power of critical hits, if companions can come back after death, the number of enemies, how much weather impacts combat, the adjustments of enemy stats that you engage with, how many spells and abilities enemies can access, the amount of times you can use spells, if you need to rest for them. There's a lot of ways to tweak it where if you don't like a very particular part of the game, you can actually turn that off. And so the ability to consume this whole game at your pace through, like I said, turning on turn-based mode, tweaking the difficulty. For me, I just went in straight up with normal just to really challenge myself here. But there are a lot of ways that you can take it on. And thanks to that replayability, I could totally see someone hopping in for a couple of hours in a story difficulty, getting their feet wet, and then starting over on normal going, okay, I understand this now. I know where the systems are going to progress. Because that's one of the best things with RPGs is knowledge is power. So what you know from your first playthrough and you carry into your second playthrough immediately changes how everything is going to go. Now, I mentioned conversations, role-playing. There are skill checks in the game. The way that skill checks work in this game should be familiar to a lot of you. So it's party-based, meaning if I have world knowledge and it's high, but someone else has it higher, their world knowledge will be used for the skill check rather than my individual skill for that particular thing that they are checking. So that's something worth considering as well when you are building a team and you are bringing in different companions to help you. But I gotta say, I just love the inclusion of the alignment system. If you've played any tabletop RPG, this is something you'll likely be familiar with, as it's really the guidance for your choices, whether you're chaotic evil, you're chaotic good, you're neutral. And so this is always just sitting in the back of my head, helping me sort of follow a game plan of like, this is what I'm going to be. So my character was Malum, who was a chaotic good. So I was making sure that I was pretty savage when I had to be, but I was still a good guy underneath it all, right? Like, I didn't mind taking someone's head off if they were an evildoer because I was playing as an inquisitor. So I was smiting people. And what's funny is I'm this Dampier, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and they're pretty much a vampire race. And so it was this weird idea of being a vampire who had a feature that allowed me to eat the bodies of certain people to regenerate my health between combat sessions, but yet at the same time being this do-gooder inquisitor. And that's just the fun of RPGs right there. Like that alone, that race setup with that class, with that alignment, and it just allows you to create these stories in your head and then react to all the situations. And that takes good writing, good choices for the game to account for all the different ways you're going to play it, which it does quite well. So between the combat, the story choices, the replayability, and especially, I have to say it again, that character creator was really surprisingly amazing. I was wowed by it, and I couldn't believe more people haven't brought this series to my attention before this past month. So shout out to Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous. It's just come out this month, and it's a game that, if you're an RPG fan, needs to be on your radar because I'm literally going to keep playing this game. It is really good. And I know for some people, they'll be like, well, it's a sponsored video. I understand. Please, by all means, go watch other reviews and see for yourself just how great this game is if you don't want to trust me. But really, I gotta just say, if you are an RPG fan, please check this out. And if you are willing to, after everything you've seen and you've heard from me, there will be a link yet again at the top of the description. Do consider clicking it and buying the game through there. It does help out the channel. But with that, thank you so much to Owlcat Games for sponsoring this video. Thank you so much to you, the audience, for viewing my content and providing me these opportunities. I really do appreciate it, because these are games that I like to champion and bring onto people's radar, because I don't think they get enough attention. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much again for your time. I hope you enjoyed, and let me know what you're thinking of Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous in the comments down below. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.